Oh dear. So the most anticipated film of the year is out. I was so excited to watch 28 years later, I even booked to watch it on opening night, which given I'm the laziest ever, just shows how keen I was to watch this movie. I really didn't expect this review to pan out like this, but I am seriously going to go off on one here. I would normally try and keep this review relatively spoiler free, but like you can't polish a turd, you also can't spoil a toilet seat that's already been sprayed with bloody syphilitic diarrhea.
I'm bleeding.
Knights of Columbus, this movie is terrible. If I can dissuade just one person from paying their hard-earned money to watch this shower of shit, then this video has been a success. Let me start by saying that I enjoyed the first two films. 28 Days was iconic. The scenes of Cillian Murphy walking through a deserted, post-apocalyptic London will forever be one of the enduring and memorable horror movie moments. Unfortunately, I did feel the second half of the film nosedived when Chris Eccleston and his randy military men show up. Yes, we get it. Human beings are the real evil in this world. I actually preferred the sequel, 28 Weeks Later. It was bloody, brutal, and crammed full of shocks. Even an Avenger wasn't safe from the chop. Surely a third film couldn't fail to be awesome. The trailer looked incredible. It alluded to a dark, atmospheric, and nightmarish vision of the future. Apparently the rage virus has evolved, we were told. Into what, I wonder? Maybe into some new nightmarish creature? A transmutated abomination, perhaps? With twisted limbs and rotten flesh dripping from its bones? But no, that's not what they meant at all. What they actually meant is this franchise has transformed from bloody horror into a cross between Scary Movie and P.S. I Love You. This might be the first time I've ever left the cinema considering whether I should demand my money back, because the trailer for this movie is probably the most misleading piece of advertising I've ever seen. 28 Years Later is a vanity project, pure and simple. This is Alex Garland and Danny Boyle giving each other hand relief while whispering sweet nothings to each other about how clever they are. The movie was marketed as a post-apocalyptic nightmare, a continuation of the horror we got in 28 Weeks Later, but we didn't get that at all. We got a complete slam on the brakes, followed by a rapid skid into a completely different genre. I knew I was in trouble in the first 5 minutes. The opening scene set the tone of what was to come. A group of children are watching Teletubbies in their living room, when a group of rage-filled zombies burst into the room and start redecorating. The kids at that point probably felt some relief. Now this scene could have been harrowing, as we watch helplessly as these small children are torn to pieces, in a visceral, shocking and grotesque scene. Something like what we got when the little girl gets blown away in Assault on Precinct 13. Instead it's like watching a slapstick comedy, with elaborate blood sprays reminiscent of something from Shaun of the Dead. The zombies in the first two films were quick, malicious and terrifying. Here they remind me of a group of pissheads struggling to make their way home from the pub. A boy named Jimmy manages to escape the slaughter. He runs to the local church where his father fulfills the stereotypical role of a crazed priest banging on about Judgment Day. This scene was so cheesy, I thought the priest might actually burst out into song and give us a rendition of The Spirit of Man from Jeff Wayne's War of the Worlds.
Listen, do you hear them drawing near in their search for the sinners?
Painful intro over, we skip decades into the future and are introduced to a feudal community living off the UK coast on the island of Lindisfarne. The central narrative follows Spike, a 12-year-old boy who is dragged to the mainland by his dad so he can learn how to kill zombies. That's the first half of the movie. The second half of the film is not dissimilar. It's basically Spike luring his mother over to the mainland so they can find a doctor who can diagnose her mystery illness. That is essentially the story. There's not much else in terms of substance, but there is lots of filler, cheesy comedy, and stupid what the fuck am I watching moments. For example, in the trailer, the use of Rudyard Kipling's Boots, read aloud by Taylor Holmes, was pretty effective and haunting. But for some inexplicable reason, they keep intersplicing the poem throughout the first 15 minutes of the movie, combined with random scenes of Laurence Olivier and Henry V. I feel like there is some deeply intellectual metaphor here, but I came here to watch a horror movie, not a pseudo-intellectual wankfest. There's lots of this pretentious tosh in the movie. 28 years later is crammed full of cringe. Like when Spike's mum turns midwife for a rage zombie. And don't get me started on the big villain, the alpha rage zombie who sports a 20-inch schlong which the filmmakers seem determined to put on screen as much as possible. Is this really what passes for horror now? Monsters who don't own any trousers and dole out Mortal Kombat fatalities like it's 1995? I always thought a good horror film was building a claustrophobic atmosphere or a sense of dread to create an unsettling experience for the viewer. But why bother with any of that when you can just have some 10-foot beastie running around sporting a kidney buster? The best thing about this film is Ray Fiennes. It was quite refreshing how his character actually broke the crazy doctor stereotype. I fully expected his character to be some kind of crackpot Colonel Kurtz. Instead, he was a wisecracking, kind and compassionate Shakespeare scholar. Although Fiennes played the role perfectly, the whole sequence with the Doctor was just really tacky. The film's creators just seemed determined to elicit some sort of emotional response from the audience. I didn't find it emotional. I just found it random, painful and quite frankly ridiculous. Like when Spike is presented with his dead mum's skull. He acts like it's an everyday occurrence. Nothing to see here. I'll just give my mum's skull a kiss now that it's been given the Predator skull shine. I'm also really not convinced about Aaron Taylor Johnson. He was terrible in Craven the Hunter. He was worse than useless in Nosferatu, sporting the worst English accent since Keanu Reeves.
Bloody wolves chasing me through some blue inferno.
Which is quite a feat not to be sniffed at, especially given he is actually English. I am also super confused by all the positive reviews, and the reasonable score on IMDb is baffling to me.
Cocaine is a hell of a drug.
They saved the worst till last. By the last scene we are basically watching Kick-Ass. I'm surprised Aaron Taylor Johnson didn't squeeze into his old green suit again. Certainly it would have been nice to get a cameo of Hit Girl and Big Daddy. 28 years later was an absolute car crash, and has absolutely nothing to do with the first two movies. This is just a cash grab, homing in on a horror legacy that is now completely tarnished and diminished. I am stunned a sequel is already in post-production, but I predict it's going to tank faster than the Titanic.